Alright, going to do a little review of this JCM800. It is a 2210. It's an 89 model. I got it from the fellow that was the original owner, was a Marshall Tech, and he did some mods to it. And I'm going to apologize now for talking so much on this review. The plane will come in a minute so you can hear the thing, but some guys on the Marshall Amp forum excuse me, have been asking some questions about the mods, and I wanted to take some pictures of the inside of the amp to post on there for a few of them, and also kind of let them hear how the mods work. I don't know that this amp sounds that much different than any other, later 80s 2210. I don't think any mods were done for gain or anything for tone. Now, some of the mods may affect the tone somewhat. When I start to explain them here in a second, you'll see what I mean. But nothing was done like adding more gain or changing something with the clipping diodes to make those. I mean, just as far as I know, all that is just stock. But the mods that were done was the clean channel no longer is tied into the overall master volume of the amp. The clean channel is the volume now on the clean. Sorry, I'm walking around my pedal board trying not to fall over here. The volume on the clean is like a master volume now. So when you turn that thing up to 3 or so, it's pretty loud. You get up close to about 4, it'll just start to break up if you're playing a guitar with humbuckers, which I normally do, something like a Les Paul. It will start to break up if you're getting up close to 4 a little bit, but it's still very loud, plenty loud enough for to be set up right next to a hard-hitting drummer and hear yourself. And that's pretty much the way I run the clean. The bass is wide open, highs are on 4.5 or so, and for this review, I'm going to have the volume on this on 2. And the master volume on the amp I'll have about 2 as well. And I am going to run through this recycled sound attenuator, which works pretty good, and it's set to be minus 6 dB. And I was trying to record a review earlier, and the thing was just distorting the camera mic so bad that it was awful. It sounded like crap. So running through the attenuator kind of brings the volume down. It doesn't really affect the tone very much on just 6 dB. If you go down to like 12, I think you can hear that it starts to affect the tone some, but of course you can run the master volume up louder and get the power amp section of the amp working a little more, but it does start to make the amp sound a little compressed and a little narrower. But at 6 dB, it doesn't really seem to affect tone at all to me. Tell you what I'm going to do, get around the back of the amp and talk about this master volume mod that this guy did. He basically used the old direct output jack and knob. I've never heard that on one of these amps used, and I have no interest in using a direct output, so I don't miss it whatsoever. But this is like your additional mid control when you go to the solo boost, and this is your like a second master volume in a sense. It's not like a true second master volume, as if you have this rolled all the way off, you're not going to have 0 output when this boost is selected. It'll basically just not affect your volume at all. The more you roll this up, it gives you more boost. I'd say, the way I'm running it about here, you've got about 3 dB or so of boost, maybe even a little more than that. And I'd say maximum wide open, you're looking at, I'm going to guess 6 or 8 dB of boost. And it's nice to run to that and have that extra mids to fill out your tone for leads, and have that master volume and everything to boost for solos. And the other thing that he's done to the amp, of course the clean channel is no longer set through the master volume, so you can get a lot of headroom with that. And the other thing he's done is that the reverb no longer is in the signal path of the distorted side of the amp. And the original guy that owned the amp, his name was Ray Barbie, and like I said, he bought the amp basically new and did all the mods back in '89, and he was describing all this to me when I bought the amp about 5 years ago or so. But he said that the reverb in that signal path on the distorted side of these amps really is a tone sucker, were his words. So I don't know. I've played some other 2210s, or actually another 22010 and a 2205, and I think they were the earlier 80s version, and they did sound quite different. But I know those earlier amps had the preamp arrangement was different on them, and they do sound different. But of those that I heard, they sounded cool, but I much prefer this one. It's just a lot bigger, more organic kind of sound, and the other ones were pretty thin. They were still gainy, had plenty of gain and everything, but they were little thinner sounding than this one. And they didn't seem like the low, mids, and highs did that much to affect the tone. Like when you have the bass, middle, and treble, and you're turning the knobs, on this one, you turn the knob like from 4.5 to 5 or something on one of those controls, and then there's a very obvious difference that you've changed something. But the other ones didn't seem to be as obvious. Okay, I've talked way too much. Let me, like I said, been playing through some different stuff. I'm going to set this thing kind of my tone that I typically do. Presence on about, let's just do 7. Like I said, the master volume's on 2. Bass is, well, the reverb's up here, but it's not going to affect the distorted channel. It'll only affect the clean, but we'll set that on 5. Bass is cool there. On about 6. Mids, we will go to 5. 2 is good on the treble. Well, not quite 2. And I usually run the gain on the thing at about 7. And we'll kind of do that. So maybe a hair past 7. And this volume, the way this amp's been modded, I mean, and this volume still works, but I just leave it on 10. I think it makes the amp sound a lot bigger. And you start rolling that volume back, and it starts to get more narrow and compressed sounding. Like I said, I understand why they have that, because on another unmodded 2210 where your volume on your clean still affected by the master, you would need that volume to balance out the volume of the boost or the distorted channel with the clean channel, and I understand why that is that way. But on this amp, that volume is really not even necessary. But so I just leave it on 10. All right, let's put this thing down and set it over here, and we will run through some stuff and kind of let you hear what the thing sounds like and how that volume boost works. See there on the distorted channel, there's no reverb. I'll switch to the clean and you can hear it there. Yeah, let's just start with the clean while we're at it. Won't spend a lot of time on that, but I've got this guitar, it's PRS with DiMarzio virtual PAFs in it, and I've got them, I can coil tap them, but it's running straight into the amp. That's just neck humbucker. It's a little out of tune. I'm going to tap the neck humbucker there, go to single coils and just go through some stuff with it. But, so this is the next single. Let's put it in the middle, both pickups on. this guitar too much, so I'm sorry for the slop, but I play my Les Paul a lot more, or my Telly. I wanted to use this for the review though, because you can get the split singles and all that, more stratty tones and stuff. I wish I could get the amp louder. It's probably going to sound a little thin. Speaking of that, let me go to this will be like the neck humbucker. I'll take it's probably going to distort the camera, but I'll take the clean volume here up to 3. Like I said, it is attenuated to -6. That's just so you can see that the amp stays fairly clean. Let me go back to the single in the middle. Single coils in the middle position. Let's go up to 4 on the volume. Probably start breaking up a little bit here, but I tell you, without the attenuator though, it would be a lot louder. It's still clean, really. But that mod works great for giving you that loud, clean headroom, and plenty of volume. All right, let's go to the overdriven side here. Like I said, I kind of set this up for sort of a just typical like Marshall, super lead sound or something, and not a huge amount of gain, but I boost it with several different fuzz and overdrive pedals, depending on the tone and everything that I'm looking for. Decent amount of gain, but not super gainy. So you can hear that boost on the boost works on the clean too, but I didn't show you that. But so you can hear that solo boost. I'll just hit a G chord and then kick it off and on a couple times. Hopefully with the camera you can hear that. Let's go to some neck pickup stuff here. Going to hit the boost. So I've got it to add just a little more mids than I've got, and the boost, I'm going to guess about 3 dB. You can set it to boost more. Yeah, the amp sounds pretty cool. So if anybody's interested, let me just max the gain out, and I'm going to drop the mid. I'm going to cut the master volume up a hair too. I think I bumped it just then. I'm going to drop the mids down to 4, leave the bass and treble where they're at, and just crank the gain up. The amp does get a little fuzzy and buzzy a little bit like this, but just so you can hear. the speakers are greenbacks. The two top speakers are pre-rolling, like the 10203s, and the bottoms are, oh, they're like what would be mids. They're greenbacks, but they're like what would be, I guess, they're mid 70s. I think they're 76 actually is the date code on them. And they have the 1777 cones. They're all 4 25 watt G12Ms with lead cones. They're just, these are the older ones. Those are the newer ones. Like my shoes. Okay. Talk so much, made this video so long it'll never go on YouTube, but that's the 2210 and the mods and how they work and how that amp sounds. And I'm sure this camera is going to make it sound like crap, because they usually do. But anyway, hope you enjoy it. Thanks.